Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Interesting Ideas. This is Stan Houston, and it's Friday afternoon flowing into the weekend. And what we have decided to do in the midst of all of the chaos and change and crises, and occasionally some actually good stuff might happen, we're going to continue to talk about transformation. This is the Transformation Project Special Interesting Ideas podcast. And from time to time, week to week, we're going to try and become transformed people. Perhaps look for ways that we could be transformed. Perhaps look for ways that we could help others be transformed, because it is certainly needed in our world today. More than a tweak, more than a change, perhaps something significant like transformation. And that's what we want to talk about. So I hope you'll join with me for about the next 12, 15 minutes at the most, because I really would like to talk to you about something that might just give a few of different words to the idea of transformation. And then, of course, perhaps to even do more than that, to talk about some signature lines that you should be able to develop so that you could become a person who speaks and talks and encourages people to be transformation people. That's what I'm going to try to do today. Let's see how it works. Program begins right now. Well, here we go. And once again, I remind you that we're doing this little project along with a good friend and mentor and a former student of mine that puts us in a variety of unique positions and combinations. This is my good friend Joe Pine from Strategic Horizons, and one of the authors and creators of what became the classic work in business development today, the experience economy. Work as theater, and every business a stage. And that was truly a transformation in how we would view the work that we do. Well, he's at it again, and what he's doing now is saying, okay, how do we go from creating great experiences, enjoying them, sharing them, gaining wisdom, insight, and truth from them? How do we go from experiences to an experience which will truly be not just changing, not just tweaking, not just adjusting, but could it be transforming, truly changing in such a way that it's more than a change? Well, Joe's on the road to doing that. Sometimes he says he feels like he's on the ropes because he really has to work hard to find where he's going next and how he's going to do it next. But roads and ropes are the way life often is. And we're working with him and to help you gain some of the wisdom, insight, and truth, and maybe even share it with us for part of the Transformation Project. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about this in just a while, but here we go. Transformationbook.substack.com. That's transformationbook.substack.com. And there you can begin to get some of the ways that Joe is actually doing something brand new. I've suggested this, and he took me up on it. He's going to write the book online. And as he writes it online, he's going to share it with you so you can make comments and perhaps some suggestions, tell your stories as part of the book writing process. And perhaps at the same time, your story can be a part of what will finally be some of the stories and illustrations of transformation in the final publication. So that's where we're going. And we'll get there yet today. Okay? A good friend of mine who is working with me on a number of projects. His name is Tim Hare, and it's Hoerr, Tim Hare, and he's had a variety of life experiences, but he's finally discovered that what he's supposed to do is to actually be a person who really is a good and great and helpful, venture capitalist, not a vulture capitalist, a venture capitalist, and working primarily in the areas right now of trying to help organizations that want to transform things, particularly in the agricultural, the food and clothing and shelter segment of the economy, and helping young transforming entrepreneurs to get perhaps some of the funding and the things that they need so they can transform the world with new ventures. Here's what he said in a booklet called An Encouragement to Risk. He said, let me tell you why you're here. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this planet Earth. Here's another way to put it. You're here to be a light, bringing out the God colors in the world. And he takes that from the translation of Holy Scriptures, the paraphrase by Eugene Peterson, called The Message. And that's one of my favorite ways of understanding Scripture in new and modern ways. But I loved that choice of, I guess you'd call it metaphors. Could it be that in every situation we need to look for, or we perhaps are going to try and see if we can create a different flavor? We taste it differently. We experience it differently. Could it be that there's a flavor to all things in some way if we're just kind enough, careful enough, perhaps open enough to say not only what is going on, but what's the flavor of this whole thing? And what should it be? Or maybe everything in some respect has a color. And maybe we can't see the color. Maybe we can't see the true color, but there's a color there somewhere. And what we are trying to do, because keep in mind that old proverb that there's nothing new. Everything just is already there. It's for perhaps you to help discover, help us to flavor, sense, feel it, experience it in new ways, see it in new and different ways. And when that happens, there could be a real transformation. Now, in the response of a number of people lately, we've come across this great truth, which we already knew, but it's being confirmed. A number of people have said, hey, let me tell you, I've had a great transformation in life, but it came through great pain. I mean, it hurt. And so, though we may want to believe that a good and gracious and good thing happened to us and it changed us, oftentimes, and we all know this from experience, that it was a challenge. It was a hardship. It was a pain. It was something like Alcoholics Anonymous say, finally, when you crash and you hit the pavement and you know that you can't help yourself, a transformation can take place. So a number of you have shared how your transformation took place through something that was deeply troubling, maybe even close to tragic, or maybe even tragic in itself, but there was recovery, there was release, there was renewal that took place and eventually led to a transformation. Well, just begin to think about that too. Colors and lights. And maybe I'm here to help the world see things in a different color, or to see things in a new flavor. Again, one of my signature statements, just let that sit on your head for a while. Okay, that brings me to this point. Could it be that one of the things you need to do if you're thinking about being a person who will lead a transformation is to begin to see if there is within you and within the project or the thing that you're trying to bring about, can you be known because you've got the good one-liner? You've got the one thing statement that kind of distinguishes you and perhaps becomes a little bit of your signature saying, your signature sound, your signature logo. Think about that. If you want to make a transformation, a signature logo. Maybe a signature sound. Maybe a signature saying. Maybe a signature song. Oh. For instance, there's a place for us. The old song from West Side Story. There's a place for us. Wow. Well, where is it? What is it? What could it be? Where's the place for us? Now, you see what we're trying to do is we're going into the realm of imagination. Now, I just recently came across my own little signature statement, and it just happened. I'm a great fan of the 1960s film series called The Twilight Zone, which is just that. Oh my goodness, it's about imagination. It's about things that might be, could be. And I accidentally said, when I talked about an idea that I had, hey, this is just kind of a tweak or a twitter from the Twilight Zone of my mind. Well, you know, that's true of a lot of things I do. It just kind of comes to me. So there's a signature statement. Donald Trump, I'm sure he'd like to do more of it, had a signature statement with The Apprentice. What was it? What was the famous two-word signature statement he had? Well, many of you know. Maybe you don't like it. He said, "You're fired. You're fired." And that was the way every apprenticeship program ended. Someone got fired. And I'll kind of close it up on this because this is kind of funny and kind of fun. You might think about it. There was a lady who was on The Apprentice, and she was a hotshot woman, and she was really good. And, you know, all of them were very talented people, and they were put together in a project, and they had to work together and make some things happen. And at the end of each episode, somebody got kicked off the team. And this lady was commenting after she had been let go. And she said this, sometime later, maybe more than a few years later, she said, you know, one of the best things that ever happened to me was when Donald Trump said, "You're fired." She said, I'd never been fired before. I'd never failed before. I thought I was pretty hot stuff. And it turned out that when they took me down after being fired from the tower and put me in the taxi, and I was on my way out of New York and out of town, that all of a sudden, I think for the first time in my life, I really began to reflect on myself and perhaps to question myself. And you know what? It turns out that led to a number of very good things for me. So could it be that the thing that transformed me was Donald Trump saying, "You're fired"? Well, there we go. I'm going to ask you to do this. Think about maybe a signature statement that would characterize you. I've been known for a lot of them. Just let that sit on your head for a while. I've been known for, adversity is part of the plan. Fear kills everything. You know, those are just a few of the things. You know, it's a gift to be simple. It's a gift to be free. It's a gift to come down where you want to be. Why don't you be one of the three? So those of us who are in the transformation business, at least in our own lives, may want to think about the picture, the signature picture, the signature logo, the signature saying that characterizes us. Maybe even the signature song that you adopt as your own. The signature word, like my friend Tim, who says, hey, you're here to bring flavor and color to the world. How are you going to do that? You're here to bring new flavors and new colors into the world. How are you going to do that? We're done. We're done. I hope this might be helpful to you. And we have one more suggestion. Okay, Joe will join me on this. We have one more request suggestion. We'll be right back. And I always like that little signature sound that we kind of borrowed from The Mission, Last of the Mohicans, that type of thing. A lot of the music from The Mission and a lot of music from The Last of the Mohicans was great. Okay, there we go. Hey, Joe would like to hear from you. Now, it's very possible that now you have stories to tell. And we'd like to hear them. About how transformation came to you, how you almost were transformed, but then you blew it and it was a termination rather than a transformation. And maybe it was the termination that led to a transformation. We'd like to hear your transformation, insight story, your wisdom about that. So would you reach out to me? As I said, first of all, go and look at Joe's book and get some of the experiences there. Once again, go to transformationbook.substack.com, and I'd love to hear from you. And I'll pass it on to Joe. StanHouston@gmail.com, StanHouston@gmail.com. Tell me your transformation story. Tell us how we can contact you. And who knows, you might even be on the radio, you might even be in the book, but even better than that, you'll be able to now tell a story that could be an inspiration to others. And that's what it's all about. I'm Stan Houston for Interesting Ideas and the Transformation Project on this chaotic world weekend. Hopefully we might be a part of some of the peace and goodness that might still come in the midst of these challenging times. Be the flavor, be the color, be the person of peace in your world and in our world today. Let that sit on your head for a while. Bye for now.